Well, good morning, my friends. How are you? Welcome to another edition of Behind the Mic with me, Mike Avery, here in the Outdoor Magazine radio studio on a cold, chilly Wednesday morning that kind of feels a little bit like November. It has been cold, but as I look at the forecast here for the next week or so, looks like it's going to warm up and looks like it's going to get nice and be springtime for real. Cliff, always a pleasure, buddy. How are you? Nice to have you along with us. Wouldn't be a behind the mic segment without you here with us. I'm here in the studio to record this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show. I'll tell you who's coming up here a little bit later. Bruce, good morning. Tim, buddy, how are you? How are things at the farm? How's the goat milk soap doing? That is so cool. Hey, Craig, congrats on your bird. Man, you're done quick. You said it was going to be a short hunt, and it was. It was right away, wasn't it? Hello, Mike. Good morning. How are you? Cliff said it's very wet in central Ohio today. Thank you, Ed. Appreciate that. Yeah, it was a good hunt. It was a very short hunt, actually. I mean, last year I hunted 2.5 weeks to get a bird. This year it was like it was a few hours. But anyway, thank you. There we go. I don't like seeing myself that close. If it was you, you wouldn't either. Thank you, Ricky. Appreciate that. Johnny Bowler is going to be on the show this week. Johnny Bowler, the Bear Whisperer, is going to be on the show this week. By the way, next week, May is a time to put in for your Michigan bear tags. Captain Jim, congrats on your bird. It was a short hunt for you as well. Martin, David, thanks for joining me on this edition of Behind the Mic here from the Outdoor Magazine radio studio. Well, Tim, Bible study Wednesday nights. Don't you know that's Wednesday Night Live? All right, that's a good excuse. That's an excuse. Thank you, Bernie. Appreciate it. Morning, Mad Jack. Appreciate that. Thank you. You know, I love turkey hunting. Second only to bear hunting. It is, Craig. Thank you. May is also the time to apply for your elk app. Speaking of big game, Jeff Hammond is in Africa right now checking in that zebra. The zebra is a beautiful trophy. Of everything I've taken over the years, I think that zebra rug on the wall at my place reminded me of what an adventure that is. Jeff, I'm sure you're having just an absolute riot. Enjoy yourself, have fun, and congrats. Thank you, Tim. Appreciate that. Thank you, Jim. What are we eating in the studio this morning? Mike Avery Hunter Sticks from Michigan Brand Meats. These are really good. And I was just talking to Nick Grillo. He said they've just done a big, just wrapping up a big expansion of their Michigan or their Frankenmuth plant too. We'll talk with him about that. Hey, Julie, good morning. Cameron, how are you? Corey? Joe, you were asking me about that. I think it's an Apex. It's a 10-point Apex shooting tripod. I like it. I like it. It took me a little bit to get used to it because the way the ball mount is in there, I was trying to make it work like the Bog Pod. And I just had to wrap my brain around the fact that it doesn't work quite that way. But I'm really liking it. It's very steady. It's very solid. It's very lightweight. The only downside would be if you're a predator hunter and you want to get the sticks all the way up so you can stand and shoot, they don't go that high. But for a ground blind hunter, which is what they're designed for, I really like them. And the price is pretty good too. So yeah, I'm sold. Thank you, Cameron. Appreciate that. Uncle Johnny, how you doing, buddy? Jason, good morning. Thank you. I saw your truck that you got from Ross Elliott. Although I didn't recognize Ross, Johnny. There's nothing to Ross anymore. That's a beautiful truck. And you know what? It's a sharp truck and that color hides dirt. That's why I like that color. Mark, good morning. How are you? Look forward to seeing you at our golf outing in West Branch on July 29th. If not before. Did I save the beard and the tail fan? I didn't save the tail fan. I actually did cut the beard off. Forgot to measure it until after the fact. It didn't really matter, right? It's actually a 10-inch beard. if you count a couple of strands. Pretty skinny beard, but believe me, a big bird. A lot of meat on that bird. Morning, Andy. How are you? Respooling the rods, sorting out the mess, packing good rain gear. Yeah, you better be, Andy. Captain Jim says, nice truck, Johnny. It is a nice one. Corey, thank you. Good morning. How are you? Hello, Scott. Bill says it's a beautiful day in Florida. Well, yeah. Randy, where are you that it's a nice morning? It's kind of crappy out here. Justin Tomei of MUCC. Justin will be joining us Monday, July 29th in West Branch at the West Branch Country Club for the first annual Mike Avery Outdoors Charity Golf Outing to benefit MUCC's youth camp. You can sign up to play and sign up to sponsor if you'd like. I mean, no pressure. I mean, look, if you want to help sponsor, God bless you. If you want to just come and play, wonderful. If you're not a golfer, that's fine too. Go to mucc.org/golf, mucc.org/golf. I think this guy over here might be joining us. You playing in it, Art?
I don't know.
Get over here and talk to people.
Maybe.
You guys know Art Lewis, WSGW, broadcast icon, member of the Broadcasting Hall of Fame. Love to have you join us there, Art.
Yeah. Love to play.
All right. And where can we hear you? I mean, we know this by now, but
WSGW, 790 AM, 100.5 FM.
Don't you love that voice? This guy's been talking into a microphone since before rocks were created.
That's right. Well, let's put it this way. When I got my first class license, it was all about tubes.
And put it this way, you had to have a first class license back
then.
Yeah, exactly.
You were a combo operator, they called it.
Art, you've seen a lot of changes and you're still doing a wonderful job.
It's because of people like you.
Appreciate your friendship, buddy. I appreciate that. All right, Justin, thank you. I appreciate that. Johnny says, I'm going to get up for trying to get. All right, Johnny, we'll talk to you on the radio show here soon. Yes. Oh, look what Art's chewing on this morning. I already showed him this Mike Avery Hunter stick.
Oh, good batch.
There's a good batch this morning, too. Randy's up and vertical. I actually took the drumsticks off this bird as well, John. I gave him to my buddy, Doug Cook, who lets me hunt his farm. So I gave him all the meat. I breasted it out, took out the drumsticks. I said, now, you're going to have to cook those drumsticks for a while. He said, I think I'm going to smoke them. Thank you, Josh. How you doing, buddy? Oh, Steve tells me Justin Tomei got a dandy bird yesterday. Justin, it didn't happen until I see pictures. Send me the pictures. I'll post them. Again, Steve is the guy who kind of got stuck coordinating this whole golf outing. And he's the guy who is making it happen, really. mucc.org/golf, mucc.org/golf. If you would like to play and or sponsor the event to help out MUCC's youth camp. Justin just sent me a picture. Let's see it. Okay, so you did get a bird, Justin. And that is a beautiful bird and an outstanding picture. Oh, I'm going to post that later. That's one of the best turkey pictures I've seen. People don't realize how big a bird is once you fluff them all out and spread the tail feathers out and spread the wings out. And that is an outstanding picture, outstanding bird. Congrats, Justin. I will post later. Isn't it amazing? You've seen all the turkey pictures on my page here, right? Some of them just don't do the birds justice, and some of them make the bird look impressive. And Justin, your picture right there makes that bird look very impressive. Jim said, what will you do with your harvest, Mike? I'm making turkey jerky, 5.5 pounds of meat. I gave it to my buddy, Doug Cook, and he's going to smoke it. Oh, geez, Scott, I'm sorry to hear that. Thank you, James. Jerry, how are you? John? Thank you, Jim. Yeah, I will be at Camp Fishtails, Corey. I'll be up there Friday night, May 2nd. Matt Smith asked me if I would show up there and shake hands and shoot the breeze. And of course, I'm more than happy to do that. And then I'm heading down to Detroit early the next day. My wife, Denise, and daughter Shelby, and I think my granddaughter are running Run the D. I run the D. And then the next week, my wife is going to Grand Rapids. She's running a half marathon. Like, she's a runner. Mitchell, good morning. Thank you, Rick. Appreciate that. Thank you, John. Thank you, John. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Stolen Willow. Tim says Art Lewis actually announced the creation of time. Corey's going to be in Fish of Veterans Tournament on the Detroit River. Thank you, Jerry. How are things in the Adirondacks? Josh says he's fishing now that he can't go after coyotes. Bernie, do you ever get other turkey hunters criticizing the size of your turkeys or the beard, or does that only happen with arrogant deer hunters? It pretty much only happens with arrogant deer hunters. I don't see it with bear hunters. I don't see it with turkey hunters. I can't have this open here in front of me without eating one. So I'm actually gonna munch on this while I'm talking, which is really rude, but oh, these are so good this time. Thank you, Bob. Justin says that picture was the work of Carl from the Michigan Trappers and Predator Callers Association. It's a beautiful picture. I'll get away from the mic while I chew. Exceptional batch, Nick Grillo. I'm going to see if Nick wants to put a foursome together to play in our outing. Jeff. Okay. I'm talking about turkey hunting, right? Jeff Hammond, Michigan guy, retired police officer, hardcore outdoorsman, great guy, is in Africa. He's been face to face with 2 Cape buffaloes, only 38 inches wide, so we passed on them. Looked like a bulldozer. I can't even imagine. I have hunted Africa twice, but I've never seen a Cape buffalo. Good luck to you. Be safe. Food plot planting season is ramping up. Good morning, James. How are you? Elliot, good morning. Mapes did on a big Josh Mapes has a reputation as not being a great shot, and he embraces that and he jokes about it. Elliot says he maped a bird in Ohio this morning. Great going, loser. Hello, Mark. Thank you, Mark. Hello, Jay. Jay's going to be on the radio show this week, which gives me a good opportunity to tell you who is coming up on the show before I run out of time. On this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show, coming up at about, you'll hear it this weekend. Johnny Bowler is my first guest this week. You know Johnny as the Bear Whisperer, and but he's also a brook trout fishing guide in the UP. We're going to talk about trout fishing in honor of this week's opener, and more. And then Jay Woldersky, who's on here with us right now on the sturgeon guarding program. By the way, sturgeon will not be added to the endangered species list, Endangered Species Act. We'll talk more about that. In our second hour, Mark Romanak talks about trolling springtime rivers for walleye. We think about jigging the rivers. He talks about trolling. Then this week's Ask Avery segment, guys looking for some advice on bow hunting for turkeys. In our third hour, it's Richard P. Smith helps us get ready to apply for a Michigan bear tag. What do you do to increase your odds? And of course, wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner wraps it all up. Thank you, Robert. Alan says a few morels in Atlanta. Nick, I'm telling you. Yes, it is a wonderful breakfast. And now that I mention it, I'll bite off it. I love the peppered elk, the Mike Avery Hunter Sticks. You know I love pepper. It's the perfect blend. Perfect, Nick Grillo. Goes well with coffee. Goes well with Crystal Light. Goes well with Maker's Mark. Andy, you know what? Honestly, I would love to do that. How often is that my breakfast? I don't eat them for breakfast. Except when I'm here in the studio, I want to show them off. Greg shot a buffalo in Zimbabwe. Craig, hey, Craig, good morning. Congrats on your bird, too, if I didn't do that yet. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate that. Didn't look for any shrooms. I was looking for birds. Curtis says, Tom is a Tom. We can only shoot one. I don't wait for something big. Mine was a good-sized bird. Josh says that reputation has changed because very few coyotes get away now. Hello, Tim. Good morning. How are you? Captain Jim's going to be fishing the Gladwin rivers for trout this year. Tim says he misses the days when the trout opener was a big deal. Cameron says, anybody find a Morels? Brent, good morning, buddy. How are you? Thank you. Are you still Arizona, Brent? When you get back, I'm sure you're going to be bird hunting. Adam says, windy in Detroit every day, but fishing has been good. It's been windy everywhere, hasn't it? And cold. My gosh. Saturday morning's opener, it snowed sideways for about 2 hours. Patrick says he's ready for the walleye opener up the rivers. Thank you, Michael. Good morning right back at you. I got to make myself a little bit of a note here, too, about what to talk about in this week's show. Trout season opens statewide this weekend, and walleye on rivers and inland lakes in the lower, and pike. I agree with you, Tim Binns. When I was a kid, we didn't have walleye, and the trout season opener was huge. In fact, I'd spend a couple of weeks before out there over at the football field with a flashlight, picking up night crawlers to fish Cedar Creek. It's Cedar Creek, but I'm going to call it Cedar Creek. Josh says a few in Allegan County, but not too many. Mike, slayed the walleye in Erie Sunday. Wonder Bread reef runners were good. I can't get over that fishery down there, Mike. That Lake Erie walleye fishery is just unbelievable. I thought we had a good fishery here. We do. Rob says, what night crawlers? I would run crawlers for trout, but I won't run them for walleye. You're hunting Friday. Good luck to you, Brent. Okay, a couple of things I need to talk about here. Well, I think I already have. 3 minutes, John? 4 minutes. Okay. I told you who's coming up on the show. The weather stinks, although if you look at the forecast, it looks like it's going to turn and be nice now. All right, Jeff, good luck to you. Have fun. I can't wait to see that picture of you sitting over at Cape Buffalo. Man, it's a big animal. And dangerous. You know, we're not used to hunting. Honestly, here in North America, or certainly here in Michigan, we're not used to hunting something that could actually hurt us. You know, even a bear's not going to hurt you. Bears are going to see you and run away. But to hunt something that it could get mad at you and stomp you, trample you, kill you, that's a whole different ballgame. Andy says he used to fish Gladden area for trout. Houghton and Clacking creeks were great. I grew up brook trout fishing. A night crawler on a single hook underneath a split shot or two, drifting down through the runs and holes. And I mean, you know, 7-inch fish was legal at the time. I don't know what it is now. If you caught an 8-incher, it was huge. A 9-incher was unheard of. But to me, it was like such an adventure. To me, as a kid, what was I, 8, 10 years old? Whatever I was. Probably too young to be down there. It was as big of an adventure as going to Africa. I mean, the mosquitoes were terrible. The brush was thick. The water was cold. The mud wanted to suck you into it. And it was an adventure. Boy, it was fun. 2 minutes. Why don't I do it anymore? I don't know. That's a good question. Anybody else's allergies terrible right now? I have springtime allergies, and this has been a terrible spring for them. And I think it's because we didn't get a bad enough winter to kill things off. But it's been a rough spring for me so far. The geese on the pond, it's still kind of a standoff, although I saw my first batch of goslings yesterday. We'll see how that changes things. I mentioned the email for the website for the golf outing, mucc.org/golf. Trout season opens this weekend statewide. Walleye season opens on the rivers and inland lakes in the lower. Now you might say, well, did Saginaw River and Detroit River already open? Yes. I'm talking about the other water. I will be back tonight at 7:00 for another edition of Wednesday Night Live. By the way, I was thinking of Justin's beautiful picture he just had right there. If you have a picture you want to send to me, the best way to get them to me is send me an email. Please don't send them to me in a social media message. That doesn't cut it. Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. I'm gonna finish this before I go on the air. Which no, I'm not. That would be dumb, wouldn't it, John? That would be dumb to bite that right now before I go on the air.
You're learning.
I'm learning. The old veteran John says here, a few more years and I'll have this thing figured out. Eventually, I'll get a handle on this whole thing. So in about 20 seconds here, I'm going to switch gears from what I'm doing right now, from this microphone to this microphone. You know the routine. I won't be able to directly interact with you. I won't be able to directly answer your questions, but I will be back here tonight at 7 o'clock for another edition of Wednesday Night Live, when we can have some direct interaction again and we can talk back and forth again. In the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful day. It's kind of a cold, blustery day, but it's going to get better, so hang in there. Blast off. That means I got to go to work. You can't really call it work, can you? I sit here in a studio behind a microphone talking about hunting and fishing. It's not really work. And that's why I'm not really going to retire. Maybe ever. Well, eventually I'll have to, right? Eventually they'll put me in a box horizontal and I'll be retired. All right, my friends, have a great day. Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine radio show right here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. How are you? What a wonderful time of year this is. What a big weekend this is in Michigan. For many people, at least. It's the opening weekend of trout season here statewide, and the reopener of the walleye season on inland lakes and rivers in the lower peninsula. Turkey season is now in full swing. Bear applications are out next week. Looking at the forecast, it appears by the time you hear the show this weekend, the weather has changed because it's been cold. Unseasonably cold. Did you get your bird yet? Did you get out turkey hunting yet? Are you finding any morels? How is the steelhead fishing? See, how is the walleye fishing? There's no end to things right now. It's a great time of year. It's a wonderful time of year. And I've had a pretty good week since we last talked. The opener of Michigan's turkey season for me was cold. I mean, it felt like deer hunting in November. And it snowed. And it snowed for much of the morning, and it snowed sideways. I was set up at my buddy Doug's farm. Thank you, Doug. In that Wraith 270 see-through ground blind with my crossbow. I had a couple decoys in front of me. I was cautiously optimistic because every time you go hunting, you have to be optimistic. You have to say, okay, this could be the best hunt of my life, or I could harvest something, or at least I'm going to have a wonderful time. You have to be. Otherwise, there's no sense in doing it. There's no sense in heading out in the woods or in the field or on the water if you're not going to have a good time. If you don't enjoy it, then do something else. Play pickleball, play golf, work in your yard. But I love turkey hunting. You know that. I hadn't seen any birds on that property for a few days, so I was a little nervous, right? But I thought I'm going to give it my best shot, and I did. I sat out there opening morning till I think 11:30 in the morning until I got just so cold I couldn't take it anymore, right? Never saw a bird, never saw a hen, never saw a jake, never saw a longbeard, never heard a gobble. The gobbling, I wasn't surprised. It was such a nasty day, I didn't expect they were going to be very vocal. So I thought, okay, I think I'm going to make a move. So I called another friend of mine, Scott. See, I don't have any property. I'm not blessed to own hunting property, but I am blessed to have some very good friends who are very generous in offering me access to their beautiful pieces of heaven. And Scott said, yeah, come on over. He said, come on over and do an afternoon hunt. So I did. He already had a Wraith set up over a food plot in the back of his property. So I set up in that Wraith, and I put one feeder hen decoy out in front of me in the middle of the food plot. She was 20 yards away from me. I got settled in there, let the woods settle back down, made a few soft yelps, nothing much, not overly aggressive, just a few soft yelps. No response. That's okay. No big deal. I've done my part. I let any birds in the area know that I'm here. About, I don't know, half hour, 40 minutes later, I see a longbeard sneaking into the food plot from my left. He didn't gobble, he didn't strut, but he's looking at my decoy. I thought, oh, here we go. He came in to the food plot. He didn't go to the decoy. What he did was he decided to walk to my blind. He walked close to the front of the blind that I could have almost reached out and grabbed him by the tail feathers or by the beard. He was so close that I couldn't even get a shot. But it was pretty cool to see him up that close. He wandered back off to the west. I thought, well, that was a pretty fun encounter. Maybe I'll see another one. I waited a few minutes, gave another couple of soft yelps, and just sat back and thought, okay, it's a beautiful afternoon now because I'm nice and warm in this blind out of the wind. I'm comfortable. I've got a decoy in front of me and I'm turkey hunting. All is wonderful with the world. I'll sit back and see what happens. Well, that same bird came back from the west again. He did not come into the decoy. Again, he did not gobble. He did not strut. He was interested, but not overly interested. But this time he didn't come to the blind. He didn't come to the decoy. He decided to keep an eye on that decoy, and he just walked the edge of the food plot where the food plot met the woods. And that was about 30 yards away. So now I've got a situation. Am I going to get a shot? Is he going to come in? Is he going to strut? Is he going to hold up? What's going to happen here? So I put I got a crossbow. I put the scope, the crosshairs on the bird, and I'm following the bird along the edge of the food plot. I thought, I am not going to shoot him when he's walking. It's a 30-yard shot, which is going to about the farthest I want to make a shot, even with a crossbow. So I'm panning along with him, and then he stops. And when he stopped, I just happened to have the crosshairs perfectly centered on him. I pulled the trigger and I let the arrow go. And from my perspective, where I was sitting, I didn't have a lighted knock, but it looked like it was a pretty darn good shot. I thought, I don't think I could have made a better shot. He runs off, flapping into the woods. I think, okay, I think I got my bird. I think I got my bird opening day. I give it just a couple of minutes, get out of the blind. I go over to where I hit him. There's feathers. There's no blood. There's feathers, but I know the direction that he's gone. So I start to wander down that trail, and there, 65 yards from where I shot him, he's all piled up. A big, beautiful springtime Michigan longbeard. Never got him to gobble, never got him to strut, but I got my bird opening day. Big bird, very nice bird. Got some beautiful pictures of him. It was a wonderful hunt, an outstanding hunt. But I keep comparing it back to my hunt from last year. Last year, I had to hunt hard for 2.5 weeks before I got a bird. Last year, I had several close encounters with gobbling birds and strutting birds, and I missed a bird opening morning. I eventually got my bird, but I had to work harder for it. Which hunt was more enjoyable? Which hunt was more rewarding? Both experiences had the same outcome. I got my bird. So they were both, in that sense, a success. Both hunts were a success because I got out and I had the experience of hunting turkeys in the springtime. But I can't help but think that I actually, because I love to hunt turkeys so much, that I almost wish my season wasn't over. Because there's nothing like hearing the gobble. There's nothing like seeing a bird strut in your face. And I didn't get to see that. I didn't get to experience it. Believe me, I'm not complaining. It was a wonderful hunt. I got a beautiful bird. Thank you, Scott, for letting me hunt your property. And I only bring it up because every hunt, every fishing trip is different. Each one is a different experience. Each one is rewarding in its own way. And I got a bird opening day of the turkey season. Doesn't get any better than that. Now I can concentrate on walleye fishing, right? Coming up here next week, well, this week coming up, May, it is the time to apply for our Michigan bear tags. That's the next thing on my hunting agenda. I will go to White River, Ontario in mid-August to bear hunt and then hopefully be bear hunting in the UP with Johnny Bowler here in Michigan. I told you trout and walleye seasons are open now. That used to be, man, when I was a kid, we didn't have walleye and the trout season opener was huge. I'd spend a couple weeks before the season out there in the football field with a flashlight picking up night crawlers. Avery, I thought you don't like crawlers. I don't like crawlers for walleye fishing, but they were pretty good for trout fishing. The standoff with the geese in the backyard continues. They now have goslings, so we'll see how that affects things. The website to sign up for the Mike Avery Outdoors Charity Golf Outing is online, ready to go. It's mucc.org/golf. That is Monday, July 29th at the West Branch Country Club. Proceeds to benefit MUCC's youth camp. If you are interested in joining us as a player and or to help sponsor the event, go to the website, mucc.org/golf, mucc.org/golf. Coming up on this week's Outdoor Magazine show, after the break, you're the bear whisperer himself, Johnny Bowler. But we're going to talk about trout fishing. Johnny's also a trout fishing guy. Then Jay Woldersky on the sturgeon guarding program. In our second hour, Mark Romanak on fishing rivers in the springtime for walleye, but not jigging them, trolling them. We'll talk more about that. This week's Ask Avery segment, question on bow hunting for turkeys. And in hour 3, Richard P. Smith helps us decide how to apply for a Michigan bear tag to get the best odds and more. And of course, we wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner. My name is Mike Avery. This show is called Outdoor Magazine. My website is mikeaveryoutdoors.com, mikeaveryoutdoors.com. My email address is mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. I'd love to see your pictures. I'd love to share them. Please don't send them to me in a social media message. Send them to me in an email, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. All right, my friends, now I can finish this. Congrats to you, Ed. Good morning, Matt. Danny, how are you? Charles? All right, my friends, I got to go. Have a good day. I'll talk to you tonight, 7 o'clock, another edition of Wednesday Night Live.